Now to college football. I mean, there's so much to talk about with this man. I mean, expertise is incredible. And the FBS. I am sick of the fact that there is not a playoff system for college football in the FBS. What is going on? Well, this needs to happen, especially.
I talk about this on my radio show all the time, and I just talk about how I've gotten to the point where I kind of want to disregard college football because we read the previews in August, you find out and dissect who's going to be on the national landscape in terms of the top 5, and then USC goes out, has a big win over Ohio State on September 14th, and then they lose to Oregon State, and all of a sudden they're irrelevant for October and November. I don't want to go week in, week out with all the sports there are to cover and have the same debate every single year. I disregard it right now. I always go back to the 1994 season when Florida State loses to Notre Dame.
Right.
They end up
93, actually 93, right?
93, 94 was when the bowl games were. They lose to Notre Dame in South Bend. Okay, then they come back. Notre Dame loses to BC. Florida State gets a bid in the Orange Bowl to play Nebraska, and then the two teams after the bowl games have the same record, and Florida State somehow wins the national championship. It doesn't make any sense to me, and that's why, like I said, at this juncture, I disregard it.
Wow. And what would you, if it was up to you, if you were running the NCAA, what would the playoff system for the FBS consist of? How would you do it?
Your top 8 teams in college football play. That's just that simple. 8 teams. Maybe 16 to make it a little more interesting, but I think 8's the number. 4 is too few, 16 is too many, so you go with 8. Okay, so you go with 8. So maybe the divisions, the champions from each of the conferences, the 6 major conferences, right? I'm not that smart.
Story that should be talked about. A young man, before he found this out 3 hours before his Seminoles, Florida State Seminoles, went up in a big ACC tilt against the Maryland Terrapins. Right. He found out that he was awarded the Rhodes Scholarship, and his name is Myron Rolle, great safety, projected as a late first-round, early second-round pick in the NFL draft, and he's a Rhodes Scholar, and he will study medical anthropology at Oxford. Talk about why aren't stories like this really emphasized? He should be on 60 Minutes, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's good that you're pointing it out, and I hate to say this, but, I mean, this is notes that a play-by-play man's going to go over in his game when he's talking about things to fill time, but at the end of the day, it's all about what happens in between the lines. And, look, there'll be features on it. There'll be stuff, maybe when Florida State plays in a bowl game. But I think if you remember in 2004, Emeka Okafor graduated in 2004, and he had 3 years of 3 years of college. So I think that it's a perfect example of just, on so much to talk about, it might make some headlines, but as far as that, there's only so much time in television.
Yeah, that's the thing. We need to know more things about that. I think to inspire young athletes to know that it's all about the books and it's all about education.
2008, Nabaté Isles.
2012, maybe.
2012.
Well, actually, I won't be old enough yet. 2016.
Okay, you got it, buddy.